for a treat. OK, good evening, gentlemen. James, let's start with Raheem Sterling. The forgotten man at Arsenal. What happens to him now?
Well, at the moment, he goes straight back to Chelsea after his loan spell. I just want to take us back to the summer. And actually, when that signing was made, it felt like it was a signing that made a lot of sense. Arsenal didn't have to pay his full wages. Chelsea were supplementing a big portion of that. Player with a lot of experience. He had a great time at Manchester City. I think between 2017 and 2020, he scored 18, 17, 20 goals. This is a proven goal scorer, over 80 caps for England. It felt like that deal made sense. Bit of backup for Bukayo Saka. But it hadn't worked out. 28 appearances in all competitions, just one goal, and that came in the Carabao Cup, third round against Bolton, 6 Premier League starts. There was even times, Mike, when Mikel Arteta was looking at his bench, looking at options to bring on. I particularly remember the game against Manchester United at Old Trafford, 1-1, and he was looking at his bench. He chose to bring on Kieran Tierney instead, and there was a pretty miserable Raheem Sterling on the bench that time. It's just a move that hasn't worked out for him. The issue now goes to Chelsea. They've got a player that's got 2 years left on his £300,000 a week contract. What do they do next? Where does he go next?
That is the question mark. This is a man who's played for Liverpool, he's played for Manchester City, he's played for Chelsea, he's played for Arsenal, big clubs. What does he do now?
Well, obviously, he's still got 2 years left on his current Chelsea deal. He was one of the last of the old era. He was one of the last Roman Abramovich signings at Stamford Bridge. And obviously, we know what came with that. Big wages, big money. But Chelsea have gone in a completely different direction. They've restructured the way they do business. They've given longer-term contracts, less weekly wages. And Raheem Sterling, as James has said, is going to be one of the top earners at Chelsea at the moment. So therefore, he doesn't currently fit in to their wage structure right now. So they'll be looking at the situation saying, look, as much as we respect you and like you, you don't fit into what we're doing right now. Be interesting to see what Enzo Maresca says, although based on what's happened this season, he's taken a lot of guidance from those above about the players he can and can't use, and of course, what they want to do financially with regards to these types of players.
Did you say Raheem's got 2 years left?
Yes.
2 years.
So he's on big money. So why doesn't he just sit there and take his money?
Well, he could. Of course, he could. He's one of those players who's been there, done it, got the T-shirt, not only at club level, 10 trophies at Manchester City. Also, he's been on the biggest stage for England as well. He's played for the biggest clubs. What left is there for him to achieve in this country? Maybe he might say, well, actually, I might look abroad. I might want to see what other opportunities there are in Europe. I might want to maybe go to the Saudi Pro League, of course. And Chelsea will probably sit down with him and say, look, actually, we respect that and understand that. But for us, we don't see a future here. Maybe he didn't give enough on the pitch at Arsenal, but there's no question, when you look at this player, he still has so much to offer a group, a squad, and I think that's the key thing for Raheem Sterling. OK, all right, so Raheem, he's on his way out of Arsenal of that loan spell. Thomas Partey at one stage looked like he was on his way out of Arsenal. No more. What's the latest with him, James?
The latest is Arsenal are in talks with his representatives about extending his contract. Now, his contract runs out at the end of June. Now, Arsenal this evening or this afternoon, they announced players leaving the whole squad, not just the men's team, the women's team, the academy as well. His name was at the bottom with alongside, I think Chloe Kelly's was on there from the women's side as well. The fact they're having discussions about potentially extending. This is a player, 31 years old. He made more appearances in the Premier League for Arsenal this season than he has done in all the other seasons previously. So 5 seasons. He's been remarkably important for Arsenal this season, perhaps surprisingly for some actually, but he really brought the best out of Declan Rice. Declan Rice speaks so highly about his role in the team. He was adaptable this season, able to play right back for big portions when Arsenal went through their full-back problems, when every single full-back they had, which was at the start of the season deemed an area where they've got so many, but they all seem to be full crock of injuries. He's stepped in then. So, look, he's a player that did become very important. And if you look at Arsenal's midfield now, if he was to go, Jorginho's on his way to Flamengo after his contract expires. Declan Rice, Mikel Merino who played mostly back in the season as a centre-forward. Miles Lewis-Skelly, who potentially now sees his future as a left-back. it leaves that central midfield area pretty bare, especially a defensive midfield area, if you can extend his contract and if they can negotiate the best wage structure for the club and for the player. It seems like that's a deal that will make sense to extend that for either a year or another year.
And Zubimendi coming into Arsenal as well. Still not happened yet officially, but that's one to keep an eye on because we understand that Arsenal have triggered his release clause. So, yeah, that is another addition to that midfield area that is obviously in desperate need of numbers at the moment.
Yeah, great signing too. I want to take you back to Chelsea, Mark. No, James, you can do this. What's the goalkeeping situation?
Well, look, Mike, we were talking about a little bit yesterday when news kind of filtered that Chelsea might be interested in the goalkeeper. Now, we understand that actually Chelsea have been offered the services of the goalkeeper, but they're trying to negotiate the fee. They don't want to pay a big fee for this for the keeper because he's got 1 year left on his contract. But he's an experienced keeper, France #1, 29 years old, AC Milan captain. And actually, when we look at that Chelsea side, and a lot of questions asked about Chelsea over the last year has been about their lack of experience. Well, this is certainly a player who will be able to provide that, leadership qualities in there as well. And I think Robert Sanchez, their current #1, maybe an unconvincing season in goal, but Chelsea at the moment still comfortable with the goalkeepers they've got. I think they've got 4, or we may have worked out about 8 or 9 yesterday, but 4 main first choice keepers that they like and they're comfortable with, and they're not going to be rushed into a decision, but it feels like this is an opportunity that's been provided to them. Maybe not an area they were looking to target originally in this summer transfer window, but as we know, clubs need to be adaptable to opportunities that just come up, and this could be one that they might well take advantage of.
Yeah, it's interesting. The Raheem Sterling situation reminds us that there are an awful lot of players going back to their parent clubs who their parent clubs may or may not want them. Mark, talk us through that situation, and in particular Philip Billing, who of course has got a nice Serie A trophy round.
Incredible. Another player just on that theme as well, Kepa, going from Bournemouth to Chelsea. One player going back into Bournemouth is this man, Philip Billing. And it's amazing, really, because he wasn't getting a lot of game time, wasn't starting many matches, wasn't playing his best football, although at times he'd been incredible for Bournemouth. Went out on loan in January, the winter window, to Napoli. Didn't start many games in Serie A, but earned enough to get himself a medal. And now comes back to Bournemouth as a Serie A winner under Antonio Conte. So quite astonishing, really. He looked like he just wasn't going to get any game time. Suddenly, he comes back with a league title. So, yeah, that's the situation. He's going to return from Napoli to Bournemouth. There was an option in that deal, but at the minute it doesn't look like Napoli are going to trigger it. But like you rightly say, this is one of many players that have all been sent out on loan for the back half of last season that are all suddenly going to be back at their clubs. Yeah,
we talked a lot about Jadon Sancho yesterday, but I want to talk Marcus Rashford. What on earth are Manchester United going to do with him?
Well, this is
Hi, good evening. Welcome along to the Transfer Show. The clubs have 6 days to get their deals over the line in this early summer window. 6 days, that's all. Well, plenty of players are returning to their parent clubs now the season's over. That includes Raheem Sterling. We'll have a look at his options. Pep Guardiola is about to add to his squad. We'll hear about his next signing at Manchester City. And in our hour-long show at 7, we'll look at who he might move on, as he insists he only wants to work with a small squad. After lifting the Europa League trophy with Tottenham, is Heung-min Son on the move? We'll look at where things stand with him. And Sunderland are back in the Premier League after 8 years away. Stand by for news of who they're planning to bring in, as Jude Bellingham heads a list of key players going the other way. James